Oh,
So we're live, at least on Facebook anyway. That one didn't take long.
oh, we're live now.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. We're here again. Interesting topic today. Whether we get many watchers coming on at first or not, that's cool. Whatever it is, it is. We know what we're doing now. So the topic, this Black Lives Matter situation. I'm trying to stay cool, so which is why I'm just trying to talk nice and slowly and not really get too carried away. But I'm going to have to say some things. There's a few people who have been asking me, why do I seem to not be supporting the Black Lives Matter movement? And let me say emphatically right up front, I don't support it. Let me say right up front that I am a Christian. So some of what I'm going to say may not fit the agenda of those who are not Christians, and that's cool. You can still listen. If you want to, you can message me, inbox me, or whatever you wish to do to argue against what I say. But I'm going to say a number of things about the actual Black Lives Matter movement, the spirit behind it, and why I'm saying those things. And that's the reason why I don't support it as a movement. The concept of Black Lives Matter, obviously, I support, because here I am, you can see I'm a black man. This is my daughter. This is my daughter. They're also black. So obviously, as a concept, I support, but not just Black lives. As a concept, I support that all lives matter. We know the reasons why there has been an emphasis, but that's also part of what we want to actually look at. What is the reality of why there has been such an emphasis on Black Lives Matter at this time? I'm in my 50s and I have suffered racism in one level or another all my life, from white people and black people, by the way, not just only white people. So it's not a new thing. My father came to the UK. He's now deceased, but he told me the stories of when he came. I think it was early 50s or late 40s when he first came to the UK, and he told me all the things that he suffered in forms of racism and so forth. It's not a new thing. We've been on this fight a long time, long before even that. And now here are my children, and they are on the same fight. There's 10 years between these two, roughly 10 or 11 years between these two, and 18 years here and much more here. So, and they still can tell me some of the same stories and the same things. So that shows you that it's a lot deeper, and we've seen progress, but yet at the same time there's a lot that's wrong.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what the actual Black Lives Matter movement is all about, at least from a spiritual perspective. That, as I said, some people will disagree. That's fine. I have some information about that, and there's really one thing that's the major issue, is that I had a conversation of a sort with someone recently, and she said to me, "Well, why do you say that there's a spirit behind Black Lives Matter? Is there a spirit behind everything?" And my answer to that is yes, there is. Yeah. there is a spirit behind everything. It doesn't mean that it's a negative spirit. There's not always a negative spirit, but there is a motivating, driving force behind everything, and that is a spirit. And most certainly behind the Black Lives Matter movement and those type of things, there is a spirit, and I would say emphatically that it's the spirit of Baphomet, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit of detail. So maybe I'm the one who's doing some of the talking at first, but let me tell you something about the Baphomet spirit. Okay, because this is what we have to understand. And why first of all, why do I say that this is what's behind the Black Lives Matter movement? Because it's the agenda that they're pushing. They are pushing the LBGTQ agenda. That is lesbian, bisexual. What is it? Lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, and queer. They're pushing that agenda even before the black agenda. George Soros, who even looks like a woman, is bankrolling it.
Yeah.
And these are the facts. And he has an organization which is all about this agenda of mix and match of people, transsexualism, promoting lesbianism, promoting homosexuality, etc. And I'm going to tell you all right now up front, I do not promote lesbianism. I do not promote homosexuality. I do not promote gay or any of those things, queer, transgender, or whatever you call it. I don't promote it. I am a Bible-believing Christian, and I do not believe that the Bible promotes it. I am not against people who choose that lifestyle, but you can't force me to choose it or to agree with you. And that's where we're coming from, really. That this is not so much about the fact that you choose to do what you want in your life. That's great. We all have choices in life, and we can all choose to do what we want in life, and we should choose to do what we want in life. But we shouldn't then try to force that agenda onto anybody else. Even me as a Christian, and what I believe as a Christian, I would not force that on anybody. If you believe, you believe, and if you don't believe, that is your choice. And in the same way, it ought to be the same thing when it comes to all of these things. But what we're having right now is that people are trying to force you to agree with an agenda that doesn't suit you. So you have to accept a lifestyle, and you have to agree that that it's fine and that there's nothing wrong with it. For those who think that there's nothing wrong with it, that's their opinion.
That's fine.
I don't agree, and I don't have to agree, and I also don't have to use that as a reasoning for people to treat me fairly because I'm black. And the problem that we're now having is that they've now deliberately put all of these things together. It used to be that racial equality was separate, and then diversity, as they call it, and inclusion, talking about now, lesbians, gays, etc., transgender, and so forth, was like a separate package. They've now taken all of that and put it into one to now tell us that your blackness is the same as somebody who has decided to be transgender or to be gay or whatever it may be. Well, I'm sorry, but no. The fact that I'm black does not mean that I must support lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer agenda. It doesn't. And the two things should not be bunched together. But this is the worldwide agenda at the moment. And this is the main reason why I said, let me speak today about this whole issue of the Black Lives Matter. So before I even speak about the spirit behind it, let me tell you what they actually say. And let's have a look at what that actually stands for. So I just pulled out a couple of points. The UK Black Lives Matter released a statement recently saying that all forms of oppression are interrelated. You cannot be for Black lives if you do not emphatically support the cause for Black queer lives, Black trans lives, and the lives of Black women. Black Lives Matter UK is a diverse team, and we would like to make it clear that we are here for the liberation of all Black people. Now that is where I have my issue, because I don't have to support the cause of queers and lesbians and gays, and I do not support it. There are many who are scared to come forward and speak like I do because they feel, well, if I do that, it's going to it's going to curtail my job prospects and business prospects, and if you're a preacher, it's going to limit your preaching and all of this. But then if you're a preacher and you can't say what I'm saying, then I don't know why you're preaching. You should just give up. All right? It's as simple as that, because we cannot defend what is wrong. We just cannot. Volume is weak. Oh.
Gosh, I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, now?
Try it. I don't know if it's different now. But I hope it's a bit better now. I don't know why, because we're actually on the mic, so
I'm not sure what's going on.
I hope the volume is a bit better now. But as I was saying, we can't say that those two things work together, because there is not an agenda that should be forced, saying that it's because, okay, he's saying he's echoing. Give us a second.
I can hear now.
Innit?
And now, how are we doing now?
I think that's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah.
Go off.
Less
Yeah.
echoing now. Yeah.
Maybe that should
Yeah, that's projecting it a bit more.
solve it. Sounds a bit clearer now, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we look at that point alone, which is from the Black Lives Matter UK, they are forcing an agenda because there is a spirit behind it, and there is ultimately a plan for the erosion of what should be the strong black family. Yeah, good. That's better. So here's another point, because we want to take these just one by one, and you know, I'm just going to talk about this, and then the other guys will talk as well.
Mhm.
So they've said, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Now, if you notice, there's nothing in that about fathers.
Yeah.
First of all, they're trying to use what they feel is an Africanism about being raised as a village, but being raised as a village has to do with collective family, and that's both male and female. It's not to the exclusion of the male side of the family, and their agenda is to exclude males from the family. The Black Lives Matter movement, as a movement, was started by three women who are lesbians. Let me give you a little bit of information about those women.
Yeah, you see the manifesto.
Yeah, it doesn't have any mention of fathers or of men. Let me give you a little information about those women, then I'm going back to their points. So we've got three founders of the Black Lives Movement.
Is there a picture? No.
One
They're all not.
is an LGBT activist who left her married parents' home at the age of 16 after informing them of her homosexual identity. That's Patrice Can-Collars. Alicia Garza, who was also brought up in a home with both her parents, male and female, is now married to a white female who identifies as a transgender male. And the last founder is Opal Tometi, a Nigerian, who also grew up in a home with her mother and father and two brothers, and is now identifying as a lesbian. So those are the founders of the Black Lives Movement, and they are pushing an agenda which is very much against males. So the first thing that I said is that they've said here that for them the extended family doesn't include any male figure, mothers, parents, and children. So they've discluded fathers. The next point here is this one. They've said, we foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that in the world are heterosexual unless they disclose otherwise. Well, the way in which we were made and designed by the Almighty God is to be heterosexual, male and female. And so now when they push this agenda, it is an erosion of the black family. It's not a support mechanism. It's not God's plan. It's not God's purpose. It has never been God's plan, and it has never been God's purpose. So people need to look a little deeper. And like I said, there are many who are not coming out as plainly as I am to say this, that this is part of the problem, that we cannot just stand up and subscribe to support something which is against what we believe, what we preach, what we teach, and what we know to be right, because it is an erosion of the family. I am blessed to have my two daughters sitting here with me. I also have two sons who are not here, but that's fine. But God blessed me to have these two here. And when they speak, I'm sure they will tell you much about how they view the family and how they understand the original content of what should be. And we need to understand that what these guys are saying, and I'm seeing what Jonathan is saying there, I'm just about able to read it. It's, yeah, the original manifesto does say that, okay, and it's not African or Sankofa, exactly. That's the whole point, that it's a twisted agenda. And in a while, Tamar, I was going to talk a bit more about that, because we have linked this, at least in our personal opinions, to the whole situation of the Willie Lynch. And for those who don't know anything about that, she will explain something about that in a while. And those who have never read the Willie Lynch letter, if you get a chance, please Google and have a look at that Willie Lynch letter. Now, there are people who have said that Willie Lynch letter is a lie, it's fake, etc. And that's fine, because we know that would always happen. And even if it is fake in its content, in the way it's written, the concept of it is not fake.
Yeah.
And the reality of what came out of that concept is also not fake. That right from the time of slavery, there was a plan to erode the black family, to weaken the black male in his family, to give him a second-rated place and position within the family, and to destroy the fabric of the black family.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about that was what was the plan from the beginning during the times of slavery. And the legacy of slavery is such that even in 2020 we are still living under that. That we are in a situation where you have, especially within the black community, absent fathers. And yes,
That's my friend.
that I'm seeing Jonathan has said, I think most people are looking at the wider cause of Black lives and racism. Yes, and that's fine, and that's right, and that's where we should be looking. And that's the reason why I've said what I've said, because for those of us who are looking at the wider cause, we support each other, because we are black brothers and sisters. I support the world at large, because everyone is my brother and sister.
Yeah.
But I also know that not everyone is on my side, not everyone is for me. So we have to speak the truth in love, and we have to be real about it. The fact is that they have an agenda which is beyond even them, because it's a spiritual matter. And it's such that it's an erosion of the black family. It's an erosion of what should be. When I worked years ago as a prison officer, there were so many young black men who we had locked up. And the biggest issue that they had was daddy issues, father issues. All the time. All the time they spoke about the issues with their fathers, absent fathers or stepfathers who were beating up on their mothers or beating up on them, and all these type of things. And that issue, I mean, I left the prison service quite a while ago and have been doing other things, but even in every other thing that I do, I'm still encountering the same thing until today. You know, and yes, Jonathan, I agree. We can support our people without the hashtag, because some of us have been doing this a long time. You know, I asked the question, I think it was one last time or one of the weeks when I was on, and I said, so many people will go and march for one day, or they'll go and protest in the city centre for one day. But when it actually comes to me now saying, okay, what have you done? Which families have you supported? Which households have you supported? You know, I have had people ring me up, and I'm not saying that everybody should do what I've done, but I've had people ring me up. I can give an example. There was a lady who rang me up. Her son was having I don't know what I'd call it, an episode. That's the best way I can put it. And her son was just going crazy, smashing around in the house, and and she called me. She said, "Can you come?" And this was like 10:30 at night, and I just went. And as a male figure, I entered the house. I was the only male figure. The lady was there with her daughter, who was also an adult, and the son was about, I think, 17 at the time, and they couldn't do anything. I stepped into the house, and I just called him, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he stopped. And he was going crazy. "I'm going to smash." And I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm going to sit here until you're calm." I said, "And if that means sitting here till 2 o'clock in the morning, then so be it, but I'm going to stay here." And I said, "And if you want to speak to me, you can come and speak to me, but you're not going to smash anything else in this house." And I ended up sitting there till about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I just sat there with his mother and his sister because they couldn't sleep. They couldn't do anything while he was in. And for quite a while, she used to call me just to come and talk with him, come and sit with them. And now these are the practical things that are missing. These are the practical things that are missing from our families and from our communities, right? And instead, people are busy trying to pull down statues, right? And supporting agendas that they don't know the background of. You know, we need to look a little deeper. I'm not saying that we shouldn't support one another. We really do need to support one another on a greater and a deeper level than some of us have been doing up until now. And maybe that's part of the issue, that it's easy to talk, but to actually do something is not quite as easy. But that's the active part that's needed, and we do need to stand against what's wrong. As a Christian, I can't agree with this agenda. It's simple. And so I will speak against it. There are others who are sitting on the fence and who are trying to say, well, we can't be all, we have to speak positive. And yeah, I'm speaking positive. I am positively against it. Okay? That's how positive I'm speaking. So let me just read another of their points. They don't like heterosexuals. This is Black Lives Matter, by the way. They said that they affirm queers. I do not. Okay? We deserve, and thus we demand, reproductive justice, i.e. abortion. That gives us autonomy over our bodies and our identities, while ensuring that our children and families are supported, safe, and able to thrive. Now, you explain to me how that last part even makes sense with the first part. How do you ensure that your child is safe if you have aborted it? That child is now dead, so where's the safety? Yeah. But you want to advocate for abortion because you must have the rights over your body, and you must have autonomy over your body and identity. I am positively against it. That's what I have to say. If you expect your children to be supported and to be safe and to be able to thrive, do not abort them. Because once you have aborted them, they are no longer able to survive, they are no longer able to thrive, and they can't do anything because they are now dead. So no. And if we are supposed to be who we say we are, why are we supporting the abortion? And of course, you need to understand that those who don't like black people and wish to see less of us on the earth, they will be very, very happy to help you to do as many abortions per year as you would like. They will give you all the tools in the world to abort babies and for contraception and so forth, because they want you to die. And we need to understand as Christians that we have to stand against that. We have to. Yeah. And now maybe today I'm not speaking to everybody, and there's many who will just air me and say, I don't want to hear what this guy is saying. That's fine. But as a Christian, I have a responsibility. There are people who have asked me, would you come on and would you speak about this? There are people who watch what I say, and there are people who criticize what I say, and that's all good and well. But I believe that it's necessary that we know the truth. That Black Lives Matter as an organization, they have no respect for Christian faith. They have no respect for us as Christians, what we stand for, or for the word of God. And so we need to make it clear what it is that we stand for and what it is that we are standing against.
Yeah.
I am very much in support of black business, of supporting black people to excel and to exceed in life and educating them. But let's have the real education. Let's not have the education which has been twisted and fixed to an agenda. But let's have the truth. Let's have the truth about who we are. Let's have the truth about what we're doing to one another. Let's deal with the truth about how we treat one another. These are the things. Because you cannot say that Black Lives Matter and you disagree and take no notice about abortion and Planned Parenthood. You can't do that.
Exactly.
You can't do that. I hope I'm not talking too much.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
So they spoke about their reproductive rights, and as I said, there's more. But Tamar,
You want me to say something?
yes,
now?
go on.
Well, obviously, I'm not saying I do a lot of research.
I'm coming.
But I do read into a lot of things, and I do look at where a lot of things have come from. You know, where's the origins? Who's made this? Who's behind it? Who's supporting it? Who's funding it? All these things. And obviously, you have to, because nowadays we don't know what we're supporting realistically. Yeah, it's on. I think this one's quieter. The batteries, isn't it? We don't know what we're supporting realistically anymore. Me saying I don't support the Black Lives Matter actual thing does not mean that, oh, I don't support Black lives and, you know, I'm not for the people, I'm not for the cause. That's not what it means. What it means is I don't support George Soros.
Yes.
Yeah, and his little dirty business. Because if you really want to get deep, right, go and look what else George Soros is funding. Because he's funding EDL, KKK, etc. So why would you be, if you are Black Lives, why are you funding EDL and KKK? Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. And this man, when you go onto their website, in fact, you look and you find, oh, where's the money getting donated to? You have to trace it through all these avenues. Yeah, yeah. But I think the batteries are dying down. Let me try this one. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah,
Just
that's a bit
hold it up a
better.
little bit.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah. What was I saying now?
Like
Yeah, the funding. Yeah, you have to search for the avenues to find where the money is going. And when you find where the money, that's better. That's better. Yeah. When you find where the money is going, it actually all leads back to the Democratic Party. Now, if you are in support of the Democratic Party, that's all I'm gonna say. You need to go and inform yourself and educate yourself on what it is that they actually are, the origins of the actual Democratic Party, and all those things there.
Yeah, and what they've done.
Yeah, and what they've made it into now. Yeah, because that George Soros man, as we know, he's Jewish, isn't he? Of course.
Yeah, he's a Hungarian Jew.
Hungarian Jew, yeah. And
So Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi, yeah, of course.
And by the way, for those who don't know, and I'm not gonna, you know, I really don't have time now today, but maybe another day we might come back to this and talk about it.
Yeah.
Ashkenazi Jews, I will say this plainly, they are not the real Jews.
Yep.
Them fake Jews.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, don't know what I mean, please go and have a look. There is a lot of information out there about the Ashkenazi Jews and where they came from, how they were formed and who they are.
How they gained their power.
And who they are now in the world, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergers, and so forth, Rockefellers, these type of evil people. There's a lot of information about them and who they are and how they came about. And he's one of them. They are the fake Jews. They are not the real Jews. That's all I'm going to say. And actually, the Bible does speak about them. It's very clear.
It does.
It's because there are things in the Bible that we often overlook,
Yeah, there's a lot of metaphors.
but it's there,
You have to
right?
dig
And
deeper.
then when you begin to see what these people are actually doing, the behavior of these people, the agendas of these people, then you realize, oh yes, actually we know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Bible says very clearly that by their fruits you shall know them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you know, and people preach about that and they point at preachers for that, but it's not just preachers, it's anybody,
It's anybody.
any person, whosoever it is.
That's
By
how
their
you judge a
fruits
character,
you will know
isn't it?
them.
That's how you judge someone's character, who they are.
Mm.
How do you guys think Christian activism should respond to? Well,
Yes, go ahead.
obviously, I agree that there shouldn't be any injustice. Just because I do not support maybe, you know, gay, lesbian, transgender, transgender especially, sorry, because I don't mean to sound horrible, but I just don't, you know, God doesn't make mistakes with your body in those ways.
Mm.
So that to me is a mental issue. It's not a physical issue. But anyway, I think that there shouldn't be any injustice, of course. Just because I don't agree with those things, that does not mean I'm now going to go out into the world and start being horrible to those people, badgering them, sending things through their doors, beating them up, all those types of things. Of course, I'm not going to do that, because that's not a Christian perspective. We're supposed to operate in love.
That's right.
Yeah, so if we are operating in love, I'm not going to then say to someone, oh gosh, I can't speak to you because you're gay, you know, and all these kinds of foolish things. That's not it.
No.
That's not it at all. It's our job to really inform that person or help that person to understand what's actually going on with them, because they're confused. Before, you see, before Black Lives,
yeah. Let me even say something about that, because that's right. Before Black Lives Matter, Dr. King marched with the church and poor people. And let me say this to the church, to any of who are on now and who may watch this later, especially the black church anyway. Here's the thing that we need to understand, that we cannot just speak to each other. And when I say speak to each other, we cannot just only hold a forum inside of a church and speak to people who are in the church. We have,
that's not our job.
Especially preachers anyway, because for those of us who are preachers, we have a talent, we have a gift, we have a way to put words together. It's a God-given ability. So God hasn't given that to us to only speak to biblical text and aspects and things which we think are useful to us on that level. But God has given us that ability to speak to everything about life. And there are too many churches who are selfish. They are only interested in those who come through their doors and who are tithing and giving offerings to them, and who are supporting what they want. We don't see enough activity on the street from the churches. And so, or they just do things which entertain each other and support each other within their cocoon.
Church.
You see?
Sale and
Now, I can speak about other people, but for myself, there are times when I can walk through what we call the hood, right? our hood then, you know, and I can walk through there. And my wife always asks me the same question: how do you know so many people? And these people everybody's hailing you up, and these are not Christians, and they're not going to no church or whatever. Because I work and operate and function with everybody. And I make myself available to people on a level that is accessible. I don't try to act as if I'm better than them, but we need, you know, if I believe that I do have something to say, I do what I'm doing now. I'll come on Facebook Live or YouTube Live or whatever, or put a post and say something. I may then look for particular meetings that are around, and I'll go to those meetings access those meetings and speak my mind, speak from my heart. I'll get involved in things rather than just stand back and watch and point the finger and say, these youths are not doing right. You'll find me in the middle of young guys who are drug dealers and gangbangers and what have you. And I can be in the middle of them speaking to them. And at no point in time do I feel intimidated, nor do I intimidate them, and nor do I look down on them or any such thing. But I find that there are so many Christians, unfortunately, who say, oh, we don't speak the same language. I don't even know what they're talking about. And they just leave them. They're too difficult. So they just leave it. And I'm telling you, some of these young men are crying out for mentoring.
Yeah.
They're crying out for support. They're not going to come and tell you just plainly like that. But they'll come in a different way. Like my youngest son, he'll often come with stories and ask and tell me a story, and I look at him and say, okay. After he's told me whatever he's told me, I say, go back and tell your friend, because I know it's not just a story. But it's the way in which they can access us. And now there are a lot of people who are looking at all of this and they're forgetting that we live in this world together. Right? So separation and segregation is not going to do it. I've listened to some black preachers recently, and they were talking about we need a black space. We do not. We do not. We tried that.
It ain't working.
We tried that. And yes, we know from the church perspective, there are many people who will gravitate towards a church of people who look like them. So they will go to a church where there's many Caribbeans or Jamaicans, or maybe the pastor is a Jamaican. Or they will go to a church where there's many Nigerians of a certain tribe, and so on and so forth. But we don't really need that. We need
stop that, actually.
to come together.
Yeah.
First of all, the identity issues that we need to know ourselves, and we need to support families to be families again, so that what's missing and what's lacking in the family units can be supported. And actually, that doesn't matter whether they're black or white. That doesn't matter whether they're black or white. And you know, there's something else that I want to say, and this is like another topic, but I'm going to say it. Pastors, preachers need to stop abusing people. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, for some of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's cool. I'm glad you don't know.
Yeah, I was about to
But
say.
there's some who do know, and those who know understand me well. Pastors need to stop abusing people. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. There was a young lady, unfortunately, she has died now. Some years ago, she had some sons, and she had her husband was a drug addict. He's black, she was white. And they had, I think, three children, 3 or 4 children, I can't remember. And the guy was in and out of prison all the time because he was struggling with his addiction, and sometimes he'd go robbing people and all sorts of stuff. So they split. And I think at this particular time, she was really struggling with the boys. She was struggling to just, you know, look after them, discipline them, find enough food for them, and all this type of stuff. Just the stuff that family structure is needed. Now, she belonged to a church which had young men in it, and the pastor also was a young man. And I knew this lady, so you would have thought that the support would have come directly from that church.
That's what I was about to say.
So I hadn't seen her for a while, and I went to visit her, and she said, I've left the church, I don't go there anymore. And I said, why? And she started crying, and she wouldn't tell me the story, but then she began to explain to me actually what had happened. Basically what she said, the pastor, instead of supporting her and maybe saying, listen, you know, we don't have a lot, but here's 20 quid. Let's take this and buy some food for you and your children. That pastor was visiting that lady in her vulnerability. She's got no man, she's got no husband, she's got no male support. So he's coming on the pretext of saying, I've come to visit you, you know, for support. And then he's just now seeing how far he can get with her. So in the end now, he's having sex with this woman, and he's not giving her anything. He's not supporting her and her sons. There's nothing except he's coming and enjoying himself and leaving. I used to visit once a week, take her shopping, take the boys out to do something, some kind of activity, play, whatever they wanted to do, we'd go out and do it. They have a lot of money, and I was traveling a long distance to do it. But I would leave her with a kitchen full of shopping once a week, every week. And this stupid, nasty pastor was just busy going there looking for sex.
Disgusting.
Right? They need to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all of these things are what then later on, because he may have assumed, oh, these boys are too young, they don't understand what I'm doing. They've seen it.
Yeah.
And they know. You can see the abuse that's coming from this man towards their mother. And she'd already had enough abuse, and now this so-called pastor brings more abuse. And there was nobody to pull him up on it and say, hey, you need to stop that. See? And these are the type of things that are happening where we need to do better. And I know it's not every church, obviously, thank God. And it's not every preacher or pastor, thank God.
Yeah.
But there are too many who are abusing their positions and they're not doing what they should do. And we do need to support one another. We most definitely do need to support one another and remember that we don't stand alone. Tamar?
What do you want to
Whatever you want. Willie Lynch.
Yeah, I was going to say
yeah.
I should speak about the Willie Lynch thing. I need a drink first.
I'm already getting hot thinking.
Yeah. Well, oh, was it a comment?
Yeah.
Do you want to read it?
Lillian said, I love speaking to these guys. You could learn so much from them. How in the world you're going to minister to people and you are so disconnected? Have not got a clue. Can't even relate to them. How are you able to help them? Every patient has a different diagnosis, exactly. And all cannot be treated with the same medicine or remedy. Christians need to wake up and get back to Bible basics. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
That's it.
The Willie Lynch thing. Yeah, let me just it's a very, very disgusting piece of text.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to even read, to be honest. I actually had a few breaks. I had a few breaks during reading it because I was just so disgusted by, and even not even disgusted, it was like disgusted, but also it's like your eyes are open
because you can see the reality.
See the reality, yeah. And what this text basically speaks about is,
You know, it's long.
the second one, isn't it? Yeah.
It's down the bottom.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's speaking about how to control and breed the slaves on the plantation and how to be successul so that they don't run away.
Yeah, how to perpetrate the slave mentality.
Yeah. What happened there?
Probably needs plugging in.
Yeah. Might be dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, like Dad was saying, how to be able to break in the slaves so that they don't, their mindset is conditioned. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. So their mindset.
All right, stop.
Is it trying to tell you it's on? I think, yeah. What's going on here? Is it, or maybe?
No.
Man, this little technical faults, I ain't feeling it today. Better just fix up. I don't know what the heck is going on here.
You do.
Let's carry on anyway. Maybe people on the live can't hear that so much anyway. So we'll just
if it's like if it's you can't hear, just let us know. But yeah, what it's focusing on is conditioning the slaves from young, not even from young, but conditioning the slaves so that they then in turn even then condition their children to then conform, and there's no running away. There's no, secret plans to kill the slave master in their sleep, all these things. And I'm just going to read just a little bit of it, just to give you an idea. Right. Right, let's see.
Hello, Maya.
Right, so the man starts off by basically saying that that this plantation is losing valuable stock by hanging the slaves. They're having uprisings from the slaves. Slaves are running away, and because the slaves are running away, their crops are sometimes left in the field too long. There's fires, animals are killed, etc. Basically, the slaves are rebelling. That's what he was saying. Yeah? And he said, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years.
Or more.
Or more, yeah. And it says, or more. My method is simple. Any member of your family can use it. And he says here, I have outlined a number of differences. Hear that word? Differences among the slaves. And I take these differences and I make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. Yeah, so if we talk about the differences, as we already know, he says there's the differences he has seen in the slaves are, of course, age, color or shade, intelligence, size, gender, size of plantation that they're on, and status on plantation, and the attitude of the owners of the slaves. So he's basically saying that, to put it in an easy way to understand, what this man has done is he's used our differences between us, because of course we are all unique and we are all different, and we all come from different cultures, as we already know. As black people, we're the most diverse of all, I think, aren't we? Yeah, we've got like the most cultural differences and things going on.
And of course, the reason why we are the most diverse is because the black female is the only human being who has the mitochondrial DNA to make everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
So every shade of every color, hair color, eye color, skin color,
everything
can come from that black woman.
Yeah. But it can't come.
And it can't come from anybody else.
No.
So that's why it's like that.
And this man has said that to use the distrust and the differences against each other. So, like I was saying already about the age and etc. He says the black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Yeah, and it says, and it's saying, you must pit the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves against the light-skinned slaves. The female slaves.
They're still doing that now.
Yeah, they are. The female slaves against the male slaves. And it's saying about white servants here, but
it's gone dark when it's unplugged, isn't it?
I think so.
So I'm not sure that these things are.
But this has gone darker as well, and I don't know why.
Yeah, what's going on? I don't know if it's just got.
You just carry on talking.
Darker outside.
Yeah, that's what I think.
See, that's gone a bit lighter, yeah?
It is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. So this man is saying that, you know, you use these what's the word? Use these tools of indoctrination. It does is bringing a bit of light on there. You use this indoctrination on your slaves to obviously break them, to
break their spirit,
to break
basically.
their spirit, and to break the unity that's on the plantation. So when there's no unity on the plantation, there's not going to be any plans that people are making to run away together or to help each other out or to steal things or to do this or that. If nobody is for each other, there's no help. Everybody stays in the same position and everybody just stays quiet, which is what they want.
And how does that look now in 2020?
Exactly. And that's exactly what's still happening now. Look, male and female against each other, hardcore, let's be honest, still till this day. Yeah, the same thing, old and young against each other, still till this day. Same thing, light skin, dark skin against each other, still till this day. So you mean to tell me that, oh, you know, slavery is finished? And this is what I was speaking about when I
Slave
said
mentality
the mindset has not finished. No. Because they've put it into us so deep that is, and people don't even know that their mind is not right. Yeah, and let me even read what else he says here, if I can find it. So he said, let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black nigger man, a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy. Secondly, we will use the same basic principle that we use in breaking a horse, combined with some sustaining factors. So you see that already they think of us as the same as horses, animals. Yeah. So we break them from one form of life to another. That is to reduce them from their natural state in nature. Nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring. We break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependency status so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure.
Right. And if you look at society where we are in 2020, the slave mentality still exists because we still have this whole divide and conquer issue.
Yeah.
We still have daddy issues where there's absent fathers, or if they're there, they're not playing the role that they should do.
Yeah.
Or you have this issue within families. I remember this is the agenda of the Black Lives Matter as well, where now the mother becomes everybody. So you have stupid women who are telling themselves Happy Father's Day on Father's Day. No, if you're a mother, you are a mother. You cannot be a father. So leave out, if there's no father for you to say Happy Father's Day to, say it to God Almighty in heaven, or say it to your own father.
Yeah.
But don't tell yourself Happy Father's Day on Father's Day, because you're not a father, you're not a man. You cannot do what a man can do, no matter what you say. Just likewise, it would be the most crazy man to turn around and say on Mother's Day, I'm telling myself Happy Mother's Day.
But the thing is, I know for a fact people would be complaining about, is this man crazy?
Is this man crazy, or is he gay, or what's wrong with him? Is he a chichi man or what? Right? Because it doesn't work. These are my two daughters, and at some point in time, I have plaited both of their hair.
Yeah.
Right?
Many a times. Actually.
Okay.
Oh,
but that doesn't mean that I'm now going to tell myself Happy Mother's Day because I plaited their hair. Right? What kind of foolishness? You know, well, I must have probably cooked more food for these two than their mothers ever, because I love cooking and I'm good at it. Right? But do I then tell myself Happy Mother's Day because I'm the one who cooked their food more than their mother? No, it doesn't work like that. I had a role to play, and as far as I'm concerned, all of that I did is still what daddy can do. Some dads can't do that, but that's their problem.
Yeah.
But I was still doing what daddy can do. Right? I wasn't doing what mommy can do. because I'm not mummy.
No.
And this is where we need to learn to work together instead of trying to break that structure apart.
Mhm.
That everybody stands alone and everybody stands independent, because it doesn't work.
No.
We were not made to be like that. It was not designed for us to be that way from the beginning. Hence the reason why God looked at Adam in the garden when Adam was on his own in the garden, and God looked at Adam and God himself said, "It is not good for man to be alone."
God said.
Right? And that's where it begins from. God himself said it.
Yeah, because you know what he saw down there. He saw Adam the mind was going. The
Yeah.
mind wasn't right. And he said, someone, I need to get someone there quick time.
And if we didn't even want to understand it from that context, when now he gave Eve to Adam, when Eve was left alone, she also did foolishness.
Yeah.
Because now she's having a discussion with the serpent.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that's why we're not supposed to be alone. We are supposed to support one another.
Yeah.
And that's why things are not working the way they should, because we haven't learned that.
Yeah,
No, we want segregation.
Yeah.
I don't want segregation at all. No, I don't.
Yeah, because there's lots of black people that would be, like you said, we need our own black space. Let's just do our own black neighborhood.
And then what are they doing in it? Nothing.
Yeah. And that's why it's turned into the hood.
Yeah.
You see, they mash it down. They don't fix anything. They don't want to put any money out for anything.
Yeah.
So it's just not really. It's the collectivism of things that makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
Not the segregation.
No.
And if you look even from what Tamar's been reading here, that whole slavery mentality is the segregation mentality.
Yeah.
That you're a field nigger, I'm a house nigger, I'm lighter than you, so I'm better than you. I've got a better education than you, so I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I've got a bigger car than you, so I'm better than you. So we segregate from each other instead of working collectively together. Even if you said, okay, let's do it as a black conglomerate, we are black people together, let's work together. It's hard for black people to do that.
Yeah.
First thing they do is start arguing, shouting, screaming, and all of these kind of things.
Yeah, it's true.
Two people are working in
Yeah.
the same organization and they hate each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking something that I've only seen since now. From childhood, my father was a member of the Racial Equality Council, and I saw him almost literally come to blows, physical fist-to-fist blows with an ex-Jamaican black man simply because they don't like each other, because the two of them are in the same organization and they're tussling for power. Tussling for power against each other.
Because
You see?
that's another
In the
thing,
same
isn't it?
organisation.
It's comes from the mindset once again where
You're
you
own
have
for
to
me.
push. You have to push against somebody
Against
who's the
each
same
other.
as you. Yeah, you have to push against each other to get higher up. That's not the case. You should be lifting each other up together. If you're both lifting together, is that not easier than you're pushing to get up? Someone else is pulling you down. You're pulling someone else down.
Mhm.
What's going on? Imagine if you saw a race like that. Someone's climbing a wall and the person is dragging you down, and then they're climbing and you're drag. When is it gonna end? When does the race end? Who wins? Do you understand what I'm saying?
And you see,
No one wins that way.
Yeah, no one.
you see, if we check out where we're at now in 2020, and we look at young people, young men especially, and it's not only young men who are on the road actually. We always talk about road man, but there's a whole heap of girls out there as well, by the way.
Yeah.
So if it's road man, there's road gal as well, or whatever they call it, the equivalent, right? But when we talk about road man, and we talk about who they are, what they represent, and what they're doing, something that we need to understand about that is that these guys are on the road doing what they're doing, involved in what they're involved in, because they are trying to break the slavery mentality. You see? They're trying to break it. So They form their gangs, they form their groups, and those are the people who they now call their fam and their blood and their bros, because they're trying to break that. They're trying to look for that community, what would you call it? That community aspect of life.
Yeah.
that hasn't been shown to them in any aspect that it should be. You know, because otherwise maybe they might find some of that within a church, within maybe a strong black church, and not all of them. Outside of it being, you know, if it's not the church, then it's missing. You see? So these are the issues, these are the problems that we have to combat. When we look at the whole thing of talking about Black Lives Matter and so on and so forth, we're not just we're talking about the whole family and community. You see? And whether you like it or not, your community, especially in this 2020 in the UK, in most cases, it doesn't just consist of people who look like you. So you cannot disclude other people and say they are not my community.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't work. And that's why we've got to break that mentality. Go on.
If you have a, in my opinion anyway, I think, as we were saying, obviously we know there is a slave mentality amongst the people, and it's not just black people, it's white people as well, because that's why they have the whole thing of, you know, oh gosh, no, you can't be with a black girl, or can't be with a black man, that's not right. And
because you're lowering yourself.
Yeah, because you're lowering yourself, or they think that the black person is not going to be acting right, they're not going to support, you know, the woman. Yeah, they have all these prejudice or assumptions. And I think a lot of the time, the only times when you find that people don't have those assumptions and prejudices is when they actually come from a family where everybody looks different. That's the only time. And that's what
blended family.
Yeah, a blended family. And that's what is missing, because people don't want to mix around, and everyone has this, oh gosh, no, you're Caribbean, I can't be with you. Oh gosh, no, you're Nigerian, I can't be with you. And oh gosh, you know what I mean? Because even in white people, it's still there. Oh, you're Irish, I can't be with you. You're Polish, I can't be with you. It's still there. And that's the problem. I think that's where it stems from the most, because if you're never venturing out, being around people, interacting with people, having family from different cultures, looks, whatever, they look different, how are you ever going to understand the outlook or the life of somebody else, or the culture of somebody else? You can't understand it because you're not actively looking to educate yourself, first and foremost, and second of all, there's no avenue for you to do it through when nobody is mixing, nobody is trying. The only places we mix are where we have to. Work, education, transport. And that's about it. Festivals. And even then, some of them are more geared to the white people, and some are more geared to the black people, as you call it. And
well, yeah, because there's Leeds Fest and then there's Carnival.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's like Leeds Fest and then there's Carnival.
Yeah.
And yes, black and white people do go to both, but majority is of black. A majority at Carnival is black. A majority at Leeds Fest is white. Let's be honest, that's the truth. And the problem is, I think people are too. Obviously, they have to. If you don't educate yourself, you can't break free from the mindset, because your mind can't open when you don't.
Have to be willing.
You have to be willing as well, and that's the thing. And a lot of people are not willing, and that is because, especially, I don't like to get at white people, but especially a lot of white people are not willing to educate themselves simply because they enjoy their superiority and power, and they don't. Yeah, the privilege
they say doesn't exist.
That they say that it doesn't exist, and they don't want to give that up, right? Because if you like, I think Israel put it as a comment before about when the woman said to him, said to the room of white people, stand up if you want to be black right now in this day and age, and no one stood up. So why is no one standing up if there's no?
Because they want the culture, they just don't want to be us.
You know, if there's no injustice and there's no issue, why is nobody standing up? Yeah, and on top of that, like we were saying about the black family, then as well, there's a lot of you know, oh, you don't need to be a proper family to raise a child, and etc. etc. And I understand what you're saying to a certain extent. Yeah.
Well, they're compensating for where they're at, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's right, because if let's say if the father doesn't want to be around, or the father doesn't want to be involved, that's not your fault, and that's not on your head. But it is then your responsibility that other family members who are male
Play the male
role in the child's life.
Yeah.
Take the child, you know, godfather or the granddad or the uncles, yeah, all of these things. Yeah, or if they have older brothers, the older brothers, they need that person that can give them the correct out view on life and make them understand who they are as a person. Because I'm sorry, but you cannot be a woman and you're telling your son who they are as a person. Yes, they know they're your son and etc., but they don't know what it means to be a man from you.
Not from you.
No.
Because you're a woman. And vice versa, the same thing. If you're a man, you need to find that female role model for your child so that they understand what it is to be a woman and what it means to be a woman. Because even, you know, I'm not saying we should be segregated and all of that. I'm just saying that we are different. God made us different for a reason. We both have different roles. Our bodies are even physically different. Everything is different. The way we even sit, all kinds of things.
Yeah, the way we think.
Yeah, even the way we think. Because you can ask a man and a woman, put them in two separate rooms, ask them the same question. You ain't getting the same answer. And that could be with everything.
You rarely get the
age,
same answer.
school, education, everything.
The answers will be miles apart.
The answers will be far apart because the mind is not the same. So that's why I think it's that collective family unit. It's important, and a strong family unit is you know, it can be detrimental to a child's what's the word? Development. Yeah, development. And
self-esteem.
Development, self-esteem, all those things. Because if the child is in a toxic environment with a toxic mother who
has toxic friends,
even has toxic friends, even has other women coming around, that's rubbish, men are trash,
all men are dogs,
all of this, all men are dogs, men are this, men are that. Listen,
maybe the ones who they're attracting are dogs. Woof woof.
Well, I don't even want to go there. All I'm gonna say is, right, you then, you know what type of men you then create. You create the dogs. Do you understand? That's what these women that say these things, you are creating the dogs. Because when your son sits there and hears this, oh, men are this, men are disgusting, blah, 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 what do you think that's doing to his mind?
Not only hears,
but
he also sees the attitude of the mother towards men in general. And then she's forgetting that this little man of hers is going to become a bigger man. And then a big man. And then what? And he's going to have seen, because this is something that I think I posted and said about the fact that the women who are busy saying all men are dogs are forgetting that they're raising a son who one day will become also a dog. Right? And this is the issue, because you're raising that young man. He has no manners. He has no discipline.
No respect.
No order. Because you don't like men, he also doesn't like them. So then, as he becomes a man, he then realizes you don't like men, so you can't like me. because I'm also a man.
I'm a man now.
And you said all men are dogs. So then what are you saying
What are you saying about me? Yeah.
Or if he doesn't even take it that negatively, he takes it on the aspect that I don't have to respect anybody,
Yes.
especially men, because my mother didn't.
Yeah. My
And
mum
so
don't
even
respect
me,
no man, so no
I
man
am a
is above
special
me.
man more than any other man.
Yeah. No man is above me.
You see? And this is where the problem comes.
This narcissistic. It creates this narcissistic, disrespectful man. And that's what we're seeing today.
We're seeing that's what we've got.
Yeah.
So many of these young guys who are in gangs and who are just, roadman as they call themselves and so forth, they are extremely self-conceited.
Yes.
Spoiled little brats.
Yeah.
All coming from how mummy brought me up. And it was me and mummy, and there's never, even if you listen, and me, I can't too stand, dancehall music and all them DJs and all their trap and things. But sometimes I've heard, and I hear them, like when they're just talking, maybe they're accepting an award or whatever, and there's always, mama, blah blah blah, and I'm looking at them thinking, okay,
I want to thank my mum.
but are you a mama or are you a man? Because even you're bigging up mama and you don't have nothing to say about no dad.
Yeah.
In any way, shape or form. So then what do you expect from your children?
Yeah.
And they're busy, many of them out there making money.
Yeah.
Right?
So doing the same thing their dad is doing.
And we cannot and must not blame that on the white man.
No.
If it was the white man in the past, in the days of slavery and the legacy of slavery and all of those things, fine. But as of today, 2020, you are responsible for your own actions.
Yeah.
You are responsible for your own behaviors. You are responsible for your own household. You are responsible for your success or your failure, at least to a lesser or greater degree.
Yeah.
So instead of now putting the blame somewhere else, look at what you are doing or not doing and adjust it. And this is really, the crux of where we're coming to with everything that we're saying, that there has already been an erosion of the black family. There has already been an erosion of family values.
Yeah.
There's already been an erosion of the real family status, an erosion of who we should be in terms of identity. But now it's up to us to address that and change it. So instead of just pointing the finger of blame, that's hence why we're doing what we're doing, speaking some things which will make people think. And I know that the topics which we're picking are difficult, which is why, I watch the numbers and I see it comes up and down because people come on and they think, boy, and they disappear. Okay, that's fine.
You don't mind.
That's fine. I don't mind, because those who will listen, and those who will understand it will understand it. But the fact is that people need to know that we have much to address for ourselves. Irrespective of pointing fingers here and there, we've got to be upstanding ourselves. That we don't fight amongst ourselves, we don't try to knock ourselves down, we be supportive to one another, support young men where they don't have that role model, support young women where they don't have that female role model, and that we're not supposed to be saying that I'm a man, so I'm above, or I'm a woman, I want to push down the man and stand on his head because men have been up too long and it's my turn to be up. All of those things are a problem.
Yeah.
You see? And now those who don't like us and who want to see the downfall of us, they stand back and they let it happen. And then they watch you as it's happening and give you a little push.
Yeah, go on.
Just continue with that, because they'll fuel the fire with certain things that make it easier for you to behave in that manner.
Yeah.
You see?
And you
hence we've got this what am I name? Floyd George.
Oh,
George Floyd. George Floyd. So we've got this murder of George Floyd, and it has been exacerbated out of all proportions. He's not the only black man that's been murdered by police.
No. Listen,
Police aren't the only one.
Police are murdering black people all the time in America and in the UK, and they're getting away with it. He's just one, because it was a setup.
And
they made sure that the man will sit on there on his neck as long as he did, so that you must all see it, you must record it, you must have time to absorb it and to swallow it down properly, so that we can poison you with it. That's what you need to understand. They've been killing black people a long time. This has not been something new. They've been doing it and they're still doing it.
Who started the riots?
Right? They've been doing it and they're still doing it, but they are feeding fire for a reason. And we need to understand, black people need to wake up and know that you need to fortify your family, your household, those who are close to you, and then you begin from there to fortify those who are a little bit further distant, to help one another the right way. Never mind about being on the street pulling down statues and so on and so forth. No, because that's what they want, so that they can then point the finger again and see that's all they're good for, mashing up statues and civil unrest and civil disturbance and all of these type of things. And you see, even the foolish black people who are busy now joining with anarchists, because that's what these people are. They are anarchists. They're joining with anarchists and saying, let's defund the police. Let me ask you, you crazy people, the police are disgusting, some of them. We have no doubt. But what do you think will come if you were to defund the police? You think what? You think martial law would be better than the police? Or you think now a situation where if you take one city or one town and you defund the police, so there's no police force, people will begin, those who have money will have their own private security. They will have their own private police force. Because that's how police began years ago. Remember, policing began in the UK, through a man called Robert Peel, which is why they were first called peelers. Right? That's what they were originally called. Policing as a system began in the UK, and it was a private system, right? They paid them privately to catch criminals. So now, if you were to defund the police, you'll now be paying private security. They'll be shooting everybody, every dog, every cat. If a bee blows hard, bam, they'll be shooting it.
But even I saw.
So how can that be better?
What, the martial law?
Already on Twitter. In America, because of course in certain I think there's like just a couple of states have defunded the police quick time, and you already know why they've done that quick time, because they're for the agenda.
They want the anarchy.
They want the anarchy. So then next minute you're seeing tanks are on the road and there's all these soldiers and the person is standing on their porch.
Yeah, I saw that.
Porch, you know.
You can't even stand outside
standing
and
on
get
their
the
porch,
air.
and they say, get inside now. Get inside now.
Yeah.
They're saying, what? Why do I have to get inside? Get inside now. Boop, boop. Rubber bullets straight into them. They got shot in their hip and leg.
And them
Just for
bullets, them
standing
rubber
on their
bullets are
porch.
serious.
Yeah, they're serious. Somebody lost their eye because of that rubber bullet.
They're worse than the paint pellets.
So this is the thing that people are missing the whole point. And when they're busy talking that, they're looking at it as an America thing, or it's a worldwide thing.
Yes.
Police as a whole, we know that there are some particularly evil elements within the police. And if you look in Africa and some places, you will see some proper things. But now you imagine, let's take where we come from, our roots now. You defund the police in Jamaica. Are you mad? You think anybody can live in Jamaica again?
It's already rough.
Police, they are already military-like soldiers.
Yeah, they are.
You go and, because listen, it's because some people don't know. Some certain parts in Jamaica, when the police go there, the guys there, if the police don't go in a big enough number and in a certain style, the guys there are styling the police, telling them you're coming in here, and they're beating them out of the area like they're kids.
Yeah.
Which is why then the police go in hardcore to the level that they do. Because once a policeman if he goes in there on his own, those bad men in that area see him, they will execute the policeman.
Yeah, straight.
And that's not a black and white thing, that's a black on black. Because you see, that's also the one that we don't like talking about. We don't like talking about what black people are doing to each other.
Yeah.
You see, just a couple of weeks ago in Jamaica, there was a gunman who killed 4 police.
You see?
4 because he said he's a bad man and nobody can't tell him what to do. So he killed off 4 police. So you don't even have to ask how they dealt with him after that.
Exactly.
Right? But you want to defund the police.
Mm-hmm.
No. It is an evil from the pit of hell.
No,
it's an anarchy spirit.
It's not about
it
that.
is,
right?
yeah.
And because it's not about that.
It's not
By
about
all means,
what's
root out the
defunding
wrong
them,
policemen.
Yeah,
The
really
ones who are killing people
and train them
and getting away with it. The ones who are brutalizing people and getting away with it.
Yes.
The ones who are thieving and robbing people and getting away with it and calling themselves police. Root them out.
Yes.
Fire them. Jail them.
Mm-hmm.
By all means.
All of that.
But you cannot defund the police service and make sense of that.
No, you
And
can't.
leave the country and every town to be run with anarchy.
Disarray
No.
and anarchy. Listen.
You see? And listen,
They want the purge.
most of them people,
They want the purge.
most of them people who are busy saying defund the police, they are crooks, criminal and thief.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why they're
That's
busy
why they
saying defund the police, because they want to continue, right? They want to continue drug dealing and gang banging and shooting up the place. They want to continue.
Trafficking.
You see? Because now, for me, a big issue. And how many times did I say big? So you know it's big, right? That's how big the issue is to me. You black man, you can't snitch on a next black man. So you're just keeping quiet.
Yeah.
So they've murdered, because this is the problem. With Jamaica, this is the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
Murdered somebody in the community and everybody's kept quiet. So that's why the police now, when they go in there wicked.
Yeah.
You see?
Bashing everyone up.
Mashing up the whole place, because at the end of the day, you're keeping quiet. No, we're not going to say who it was who did whatever they did. So they're in there, they've got pedo. Listen, this is a thing that black people have done for years.
Yeah.
There are black fathers, uncles and grandfathers who have raped their daughters, raped their sisters, raped their nieces, and all this kind of thing, even made them pregnant. They've even had kids for them. And everybody has swept it underneath the carpet.
Yeah.
Those kind of nastiness need to stop. You see?
It does.
They need to stop.
All this evil.
Because before we're busy chatting about what everybody else is doing, the white man this and that and blah blah, they don't like us. Learn to like yourself.
Yeah.
Because how can
That's
you
why
tell
they
me
don't like us.
you like yourself and you know Uncle so and so had sex with your daughter or your niece.
Why is it trying?
Right? You understand? You know Uncle so and so did what he did and his niece became pregnant and had a child for him, and you're sweeping it under the carpet, and you're not getting the police and social services involved because black people have to stick together. Stick with who? No, not me. Don't stick with me on rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
And it's true.
Right? And this is what the problem is, because then you think that it's okay, but then what's happening? The anger that people grow up with in their spirit, the venom that they have because of what was done to them and was covered up, or they told their mom and she said, no, it's not true. All these type of things. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
It needs to be addressed. These are the realities, that they sweep all these things under the carpet. No, keep quiet about that.
And look what is creating broken people.
Broken families. Yeah. That even when those same people then try to build their own family unit, they can't.
Yeah. Because
they've already been damaged by what family members have done and other family members have not protected them from.
Yeah.
And have swept it under the carpet. You see? Now that has got nothing to do with racism. That's you doing it to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing that to yourself. So when you look and you see ghettoized areas, why are they ghettoized areas? You did it to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you make it a no-go zone. Everybody stays there. This is my ends. Don't come in my ends. And if something happens in there, I'm not snitching about what happened in my ends. Not me. I'm telling. And I'm telling very fast. If I see you out there drug dealing, I'm taking a picture of you and I'm telling. I told them already. I don't care whether you're blacker than me, 3.5 times shade more than me. I don't care. I'm telling. Because I don't need to stick with you for rubbish.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's only unity where it's foolishness.
Yeah.
Unity is only where it's gangs and you know, bad things are happening. They've got their like I said, they've got their little
family
gangs.
secrets.
Yeah, family secrets. That's where the unity is.
Paedophile uncles and all this.
Yeah,
They're keeping quiet about them.
Quiet. The grandmother knows that her brother is a paedophile because he's done it to the daughter, then he's doing it to the granddaughter, and everybody's just
keeping quiet,
silent. I even read a story of what this lady said about. She was about my age. This girl, a little bit older, and they were sharing stories about family members and the raping. And the molestation. And she said when she was a little girl, she used to go stay at her auntie's house, and her uncle would molest her, take her from outside in the garden and take her up to the bedroom and molest her. And the auntie would be just there in the sitting room watching TV. What does she think is going on behind that door? Why is he taking her upstairs and closing the bedroom door? And all these things. And she said still till this day, she can't even look at that auntie without feeling disgust. And she said she can't stand her and she doesn't think she will ever be able to forgive her or let it go and all these things. And look what that creates. Somebody if you're holding that inside yourself, you can never ever forgive somebody for allowing somebody to molest you, and they know and they're not doing anything about it. You're not getting protected as a child. That then creates a very hostile person that goes out into the world, because they then will protect themselves,
or at least damaged.
Or at least damaged.
Definitely going to have trust issues.
Yeah, they're going to have some issues. Even if they may, by the grace of God, they may be able to move past all of that and turn into, a better person, but that will still come with a struggle. And people like that, they're going to go out into the world. They're going to be very hostile towards, if it's a woman, men, for instance, because they're already going to have this. Not that they're going to think every man is like that, but they've already been given a negative and disgusting perception of what a man is that's close to them in their life. So to them, any man coming close is a problem.
It can be a problem.
Yeah.
Or they also have a warped view of what family is all about. Because, if you've grown up as a kid in one of the families where the uncle has been the one who's there feeling up all the girls in the family and doing all kind of nastiness, and nobody has said or done anything about it. You have a warped view about what the reality of family is.
Yeah.
So you may even say to yourself, I'd rather stay alone and be independent of everyone and everything than to be in a situation where now, instead of that, I look for support and I'm being abused in my family.
Yeah.
See? And now the problem that we have is that too many black families have got this rubbish going on, and they keep it quiet.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying anything about it. Nobody at all is saying anything, that they've got so many young people who have grown up in those family environments where they have got abusive. And we're not necessarily talking only sexual abuse. We've stuck on that a bit, but we're talking even the physical abuse. I watched a video yesterday, and my God, if I've ever wanted to have the ability to slide through the screen to get to a person, it was yesterday. I watched this woman, and apparently it was her own child. The child was bleeding from the mouth.
I think I saw that.
Only Jesus knows what she did to the child. The child was bleeding from the mouth.
I think I saw
And
that.
I watched the video. The woman was beating the child. And when I say beating, I mean beating. She was beating up this child. She hit the child's head into the what do you call it? The wooden headboard
The bed
of the
frame.
bed
God.
Yeah.
into the bed frame, flung the child on the floor, then flung the child on the bed. She had some kind of rope-looking thing. It looked
It looked like a charger wire.
it looked like, yeah, but it looked like the one that you use for extending your lights.
Yeah.
So you know
Oh,
the like the
the
cable.
cable, yeah.
And she was beating the child with that cable, punching the child, and this was
Yes.
supposed to be discipline.
That's not discipline.
You know,
Oh,
even
no.
when she went like this with her hand, the child was flinching, and I said, my God, if I could get through that screen, I would teach
Yeah.
that woman a lesson
It was really
that
bad.
she will never forget. Now I'm telling you, there's a lot of that
Yes.
because again, it's the slavery mentality of a lot of black parents.
Yes.
I must beat up my children.
Yeah.
Now, me, I'm not a man who believes that you can't lash your children if necessary. Social services, God bless your heart, me no business. All right?
I don't
That's
care.
up to you, whatever you have to say. But
I'm
inside
still
my
alive.
house, I say what I say. And me, these are my two daughters, so they can tell you, and they're not dead.
That's what I'm
You see?
saying.
So I didn't go that
That's what
far.
I say to my nephews
Right?
all the time.
They're not dead, but if they needed to get some licks, they're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
You don't come.
There's no
one
joking,
time that
forget
I
that. Because again, this is what they want to do to bring anarchy. Don't discipline your children.
Yeah.
Just leave them to behave anyhow they want. Let them swear at you and tell you what. Me, try it.
Yeah, but then what happens? Then the police are disciplining them.
Exactly,
in
because
the
they
cell.
will rough them up.
Yeah, twisting them up, bashing them in. They don't care then. Then suddenly, it's not a bother when they're getting twisted up and mashed up. Or even worse, then they're getting taken away from you and put into these little scary homes.
And then they're
Mhm.
gonna
And I'm not saying they're all bad homes, but
they
a
do
lot
that.
of them,
and then they say,
child
"Oh,
protective
because
services.
Child
The
protective
child had no
service.
discipline."
In those homes, listen, I've
Disgusting.
worked in there.
I don't
I've
understand
worked in there, and I remember there was a black
criteria
boy,
for the people that work there. Like, how do they?
a black boy and a white girl were having sex
in the place.
in the home,
You see?
right? We didn't see them, literally, you know what I mean? But we know, obviously, and
You
even
could
he
tell.
was even bragging about it because he's not getting caught.
Mhm.
So we rang the social worker and we said, listen, can you remove one of these young people from this house,
Yeah,
right?
They don't
Because
that's not what they're here
you might
for.
end up having to deal with a pregnancy because they ain't stopping,
Yeah.
right? Every single night they've sneaked in their bedroom and they're doing whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
Do you have any proof?
What?
Oh.
The proof is
So
there.
I asked the social worker, I said, what
The
would you
proof
like?
they want is the
I
pregnancy.
said, what would
that's
you
why.
like me to do? I said, would you like me to go and stand in the room while they're doing their thing and
And
film them
record.
with a camera?
Yeah.
I said, what kind? I said, I told you. The boy himself has bragged about what is going on. And when we asked the girl, she said, yeah, so what? So what more do you need?
Exactly.
Right? But this is what we need to understand. That if you leave things until they erode to that level, your child won't be now in a family, your child is now in a zoo,
Yeah.
right? Under the auspices of the social services.
Yeah.
And they will treat them like an animal.
Like an animal, yeah.
So we need to understand, discipline your children when you can and how you can before you can't
Yes.
and before somebody else does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because all the ones who have gone to prison, who was bad man in prison and they can do this and they can do that. And again, I'm not telling people stories. I worked in the prison, so I know, right? I'm not just telling what I think. I have been in there and I've seen the biggest of man get mashed up completely in the prison. Right? I'm not going to give you all the details of the techniques of how it's done, but there's some guys in prison, the ones who are into bodybuilding and this and that, big strong guys, and we have a strategy of how we deal with such type of people, but they will keep quiet after a while. Believe me. When you put that strategy in place and beat them down very properly, they will be subdued. Now, why would you leave your son until he gets to that level? So that's what has to happen to him for him to understand discipline.
Nah.
You see? Because they're busy telling you, as a family, don't discipline your children,
Yeah, you can't beat your child.
negotiate with your children, put them on a
no
naughty step.
negotiation.
Which kind of naughty step?
But
Rubbish
the
are
thing
you
is,
chatting?
like, the naughty step works to a certain extent.
and for a certain age period.
Yeah, that's what people need to understand. When they're 13 and they're telling you to F off,
Yeah,
is the law
that's
step working?
When they're 13 and they're telling me to F off, them I gonna lose one of them teeth.
For real.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Because I think people just, I don't
know. Because the fact is that they want the indiscipline.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah.
So that they can
want it.
then have a reason to say, look, these
Look
young
at
men,
this, see?
look at them.
Look how they
Look
were
at them.
raised.
Look at them. And they want to continue.
Look at this person. Look
You
at
see?
that person.
And now, because also we've come to the point where we like to be independent. We do have families where they don't know, because now there's some families who try discipline the mother, so she'll try pumping up the boy, and then, oh, he's too big now, or I'm gonna have to hit him with a frying pan. Or no, we're not telling you to do any of those things.
No.
That's not what we mean. We're talking about a sensible level of discipline.
Yeah.
And now when it gets to a point where if you feel like you don't know how to do that, you should be able to have somebody who can support
Step
you.
in. Yeah.
You see? And this is where we've had our problem, because when we start to be independent and disjointed and disconnected from one another, we don't have that
support network.
You see? So then you're on your own.
Mm-hmm. And when you're on your own and you've got if you're a woman, imagine you're a small woman, you're just short, and your son turns out to be some 6'6", big boy. That's shut up, mum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's not listening to what you're saying. Don't want to hear. You're even slapping him, and he's just
laughing.
Yeah, looking at you and what do you think that's
What's
working
that?
Anymore?
But you know the biggest problem behind that. The biggest problem behind that is that she didn't instill the level of discipline that she should from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you know that story of the story of the elephant, that the elephant from a baby is tied to a stick.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Move from it even
so when he's a
break it
baby, he actually literally can't maybe pull down that big stick. As he gets bigger, they tie him to maybe the same stick or a bigger stick. So now you've got a big size elephant that's as tall as a house.
Yeah.
And now he's tied there to some stick. The elephant
It's
could
the mindset.
could carry off the stick and everything around him.
Yeah.
Right? But they have trained his mind
Yeah.
that now they've said, listen, when I put you here, now
That means
you're
stay.
stuck.
Yeah.
You see? So this is why it all has to do with the mentality.
Right now,
You see? And that's exactly what the issue is.
The mindset.
That people are playing with the minds of young people.
Yeah.
Even all of these things that are happening right now in the world, they're playing with people's minds. You see?
100%.
And then because people are not looking deep enough, they are getting the wrong end of it. And there's, yes, this is time for concerted indiscipline. Let's mash up the place. No! That's the easy option. That's the easy answer.
The thing is, right, if you want to tear down your little statues and things, as I already said, I don't mind the statues getting teared down. But that's not the only thing. If I was going there to tear down the statue, that ain't the only thing I'm doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to tear down the statue. Anyway, let me go home now and relax and put up my foot and turn. And I'm not even talking to people. I'm not educating anybody. I'm not spreading awareness. I'm not even posting on my platform. These are the things that people are doing. And I'm sorry to say it, right, which is another thing why I really couldn't stand the Black Lives Matter thing for a little while, is because it became like some fashion statement. And I cannot stand it. I don't even usually get loud on this little live thing, but that just vexes me on another level, because why the heck are you treating this like it's some fashion event? Oh, you're going out and you've got your little plackboards and you're wearing little black outfits because for some reason it's like they're trying to do some Black Panther style part with the beret and all this crap. No! Some people wear berets, Dad. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking, but then I ain't seen one thing on your Facebook. I ain't seen one thing on your YouTube. I ain't seen one thing on your Instagram, Twitter, or anywhere ever before.
and you're not commenting on anybody else's things
Yeah,
either.
you're not commenting.
Or if you come on there, you come with foolishness.
Yeah.
You're not educating anybody. You're not, oh, guys, come on. It's all just what everybody's doing, the same dry things. Oh, I'm a black woman, so what was that post? Something about black woman and blah 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 blah.
We don't pull down each other.
Yeah, we don't pull down.
Okay, what does that actually mean? When because this is why I'm not a sheep.
Yeah,
See?
I'm not a
Right
sheep.
then.
I'm not a
exactly
sheep, so
it.
I don't just follow
I
things
don't
for the
even
sake
need
of
to
it.
write that on.
You know, what as my mum would have called it, follow fashion.
Yeah, follow
right?
fashion.
Because you're following, you're putting these things. You're saying, I don't do this and that. But what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you understand what it is that you're objecting to?
Mhm.
Probably not.
Because these are the questions that we need people to answer.
Mm.
If you are now objecting
Yeah.
to the police, for instance, as one of the particular larger issues which has been that they say they object to the police and they want them to be defunded. What is your alternative?
Yeah. Who's
All right?
got what's happening next?
Because
Funded and then
if
do
you want to
What's
tell me
going on with
that
the criminals?
that anarchy is the alternative, then you are talking
Yeah, I know,
foolishness, and we don't
That
really have
condone
anything
that.
to talk about,
Yeah.
because anarchy will not work,
No way.
and it's certainly for black people. Anarchy will not work. It will be worse.
Yeah, that
All
will
right?
bring us down.
Because
even
if you
lower.
leave the law of thumb as it is, just on a balance of probability, that you now put the power in everybody's hands individually, a lot more black people will die
Yes.
than have already died.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Both at the hands of whites
100%.
and blacks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, and I'm going to reiterate before we finish, deliberately so,
Mhm.
black people do not like to hear about how many black people are killed by
By
black people.
No.
They don't want to talk about that one. They don't want to talk about how badly we treat one another as black people, about how many drug dealers there are and the amount of drugs that they're selling to black people, and how even drug dealers have their own code of how they deal with those who basically fail,
Yeah.
within their system, and they treat them as harshly as possible, much more harshly than any policeman will do.
Yeah.
These are the things that you need to understand. It's not just about things from the angle that we see. Listen, a couple of years ago, I went to a funeral of a young man, and he was shot through his brain. Right now, at the funeral, his mother, spoke, and she was trying to be
Spooky.
diplomatic, then let's put it that way. So she was saying, you young people, I don't know what it is that you're doing. And I sat there saying, yes, you do know what it is that they're doing, because your son was part of a gang, and he was a big time, a relentless drug dealer.
Yeah.
And
you know that.
So you're busy saying, you young people, when you've got arguments and beef with one another, you should just walk your walk and keep off from each other and blah blah blah. Now my son is dead and this and that. And I looked at the whole scenario and I said, if only they had asked me to go and speak, I would tell them the real truth. Because once again, this is the problem that we have, that we don't want to speak the real truth about what we do to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So now, after this young man has died and buried, then now, as part of the investigation, out comes the truth about him and his relentless drug dealing, about his behavior towards the rival gangs, and who he had chopped just a couple of weeks previously before they murdered him. And this is what and these are all blacks.
Yeah.
All of them are black.
Yeah.
Right? And this is what they're doing to one another, but then they're talking about the police have done this and the police have done that.
What about what you're doing?
They treat each other far worse than what the police will do.
Yeah.
Right? Because he had chopped somebody in his head, and it's just because he didn't manage to really get the guy the way he wanted, or maybe that person would have been dead before he died. And as a retaliation, that's why they came and now executed him.
Yeah. Because they saw he attempted.
And these were black people, and funnily enough, they hired a white man to execute him.
Imagine that.
This is what I'm saying. You know,
Right?
my friend, she made me laugh because we were actually speaking about this topic, the same exact thing about how because we saw somebody had died, and the mum was saying the same dry narrative about she don't know what's going on and all this crap. And my friend said, before I even got to say it, my friend said, boy, they wouldn't want me to speak at one of them funerals. And I said, why? And she said, because I would go up there and expose the whole, don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
So I'd go up there and expose the whole thing. She said, I'd be telling
What needs to
them.
be done.
Yeah, she said, I'd be telling them he was a drug dealer. And the reason he's dead is because of gangs and blah, blah, blah. She said she wouldn't be sugarcoating it. She said, because how is anything in a community going to change when you're sugarcoating it?
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know what happened to my son. And
But you do know.
I don't know where he was, why he was in that area and what he was doing.
That area that he's
that
in
time.
all day, every day.
Yeah. Every day he's going to that same area. Why is he going there? To sell his drugs. And you know that he's going there to sell his drugs.
He's on the road doing his things.
Doing his things, yeah. So unless he's faking a job, and I highly doubt that they go, because they don't even try to fake it.
No, they don't bother.
No, they're not bothered because they don't care what they're doing. That's not of their concern to be hiding it from their family. They're only hiding it from the police.
Exactly.
Nobody else, not even in their community do they hide it, like from neighbours and all that. They're not hiding it. Yeah, so you mean to tell me no one knows what the person is on? They know. Yeah. They know. And that's why nothing is getting dealt with, because nobody's addressing the real issues. And it's just a collective thing now.
Exactly. And this is the problem. We're finishing anyway, but this is where we're at, that when we're talking about Black Lives Matter and we look at the movement and all of these things, as we said, in conclusion, we're saying we are positively against the Black Lives Matter movement. We are not against Black Lives Matter because we're not mentally ill. All of us are black. So we know Black Lives Matter because our lives matter, right? We don't have self-hatred.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not the issue.
Have self-hatred, mate.
We can say all lives matter, and we know that they do, but at the moment, Black Lives Matter more, right? Because the issues are upfront for Black people.
Yeah.
But the problem that we have, and Black people must address this, and we're going to be coming back again with the same kind of narrative, because we've got more to say, you know, on this, as it were, in a part 2 next week. Black people must start to tell the truth to one another about how they really are treating one another, and be truthful about the erosion of our own communities in the areas where we have done it. Where no white man has walked in and done that, you did it to yourself. Where no white man has walked in to your family structure and eroded it, you did it yourself.
It's as simple as
you see, they can use an excuse, like many black men now who want to use the excuse of slavery, Jim Crow, Willie Lynch, and every other thing. No, when you decided to go and sleep with whichever girl you slept with and make whichever babies you made, no white man was telling you to go in that bed. Right? Or on that sofa or car or behind the dustbin or wherever it was that you did what you were doing. Right? There was no white man telling you this is good or bad. You chose. Right? You chose. That's what you need to understand. Now, after you knew now there is a child and you decided you're not interested, so you chose to walk away, it is you who chose to walk away. And it is you who is eroding the black family. It is you who's destroying the life of that child. And that's got nothing to do with any white man. You did it yourself. Right? And we must tell each other the truth. If you've decided that you're making children here and there, stand up and look after your children. They're big people now, but they're still here. They're still with me. Because until now, I'm still looking out for their interests. And until the day I die, I will be looking out for their interest, because that's what a real black father does.
Yeah.
Instead of running off your mouth, the woman is not this and the woman is not that. Shut up and be what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be here. We're gone.